Hi. Do you spend a lot of time debugging your front-end applications? Because it's going to get much faster. Today, I'm going to show you 5 things that you can use in your console to debug your front-end applications faster. My name is Varun. I'm doing front-end for more than 7 years now. This channel is all about helping you advance your front-end skills. So be sure to subscribe and let's get started. To show you the console APIs, I prepared a sample demo application using React. If you look at the application, it doesn't have a lot of functionality. You can click on connect and status gets changed, and also the number of connected accounts gets changed. So if I connect all, there's 3, and then if I disconnect, there's 0. So we're going to use this sample application to look at the API references that I'm going to show you. To start with, let me open the console. Awesome. So we have the DevTools here, and the first thing that I want to show you is, for example, if I inspect something and if I have to look at some item in the DOM, so I'll probably use the elements tab, and then I'll dive into the element, which element I want to connect to. Now, if I want to use this in my JS, so what I can do is I can do $0, which is a very handy utility. It selects the current selected element from the DOM. So since I've selected button here, I get the button instance here, and then if I want to click on the button, I can do click, and then a click event is triggered. So this is a super handy utility. But apart from that, you can actually go back to the previous selections as well. So if you go to $1, it selects the list because I had selected the, so yeah, it selects the list item because I clicked on the list item earlier. And then if I do $2, I can go back even more, like because I started with the selection of the DOM, the parent div basically. So it goes up to $4, I guess. This is super handy when it comes to inspecting the DOM. Along with this, if I need to get the previous result and start with something else, so for example, instead of doing $2 now, I could do $_ and then I'll get the same element of the previous result. So for example, if I have done $_ dot, maybe I got some value from this button. I'll go with inner text, right? So I got the inner text here, and for example, if I need to do something with this inner text, then I could do $_ again, where I'll only get the text, and then I could do any text operations here. This is another handy utility that you can use. Next is the querying utilities. Let me clear the console. So the DOM offers you a querying utility. So what you can do is you can do a document.querySelector or a querySelector all, but that's super. I mean, it takes a lot of time to write in your console, and if you want to find something, it's just a lot of work. So in this case, for example, if I have to query for all the list elements, I could just do a $, and then li. So if I do a $li, it gets you the first list item. So this is basically a replacement for query selector. And if I have to do a query selector all, and then I'll just do $. So this gives me the list of all the list items in this list. The third API that I'm going to talk about is to handle events. So in this example, it's pretty clear that we have event listeners for on-click on each of these buttons. But in a typical application, you might have a lot of event listeners. So if you want to inspect an event listener for a specific item, for example, in this case of a button, let me clear here. So I've selected the button here, and what I can do is I can do getEventListeners of a specific element, and since button is already selected, I do $0. So what happens right now is the Chrome console actually checks all the event listeners that's attached to this button, and then it returns me this. So in this case, it means that we have a click listener, and there's only one click listener with these properties. It's not a one-time listener. It's not a passive listener, and it's not using capture. So this is super useful to identify the list of listeners that's already attached to a specific DOM element. All right, now that we know that the button has a click listener, how do we monitor that? That's exactly what monitorEvents does. So I call the monitorEvents, and then I pass the DOM element. In this case, it's the button again. And then I pass an array of events that needs to be monitored. In this case, I only have click, so click. So now whenever I call the click element, I get a log of how it's called. So if I click on this, so I get a log saying that the click event was called, and this is the mouse event that triggered it. Pretty interesting, right? How we monitor events, we can actually monitor functions as well. So for the sake of the demo, I'm calling the setItem function from local storage internally in this component. So let's see how we can monitor that. So in order to monitor, I call the monitor function in the console, and then I pass the function name to it. So in this case, it's going to be local storage.setItem. So this function will be called whenever there's a call to that. So if you see here, it says the setItem function was called with these arguments. So the random value is the key of the item, and this is the value that's being called to it. This is super useful in monitoring functions. And once you're done monitoring, you can just do unmonitor of that, and you're done. I hope these APIs were really useful for you, and this speeds up your development process. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next week.